The 2025 Formula One preseason testing has ended, but it leaves many question marks, especially regarding Ferrari. The Maranello team still seems to have something to hide, especially after the third day of testing did not go as expected. On the other hand, McLaren showed great potential with promising speed, making them the team to beat. The main question is how Ferrari will react to this situation. Can they rely on Lewis Hamilton's superiority in technical input to improve the SF-25, which still has some problems at the moment? Let's discuss this in detail. Ferrari and Red Bull seem to have more potential, which was not fully revealed during the preseason test in Bahrain. Although both teams are expected to be strong title contenders this season, their early results are not encouraging. Both Ferrari and Red Bull admit that their cars have not performed as well as initially expected, leaving big question marks ahead of the season opener. Red Bull, who have dominated in recent seasons, are predicted to see a slight decline from 2024, and the results in Bahrain seem to support this assumption. Although it is too early to tell, some observers feel that the RB20 has failed to replicate the dominance of its predecessor. Meanwhile, Ferrari has had an unpleasant surprise. The Maranello-based team entered the 2025 season with big ambitions to return to winning ways, especially after the improvements they showed at the end of last season. However, the first impressions of the SF-25 have made those hopes seem even more difficult to achieve. Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur tried to allay the concerns of the fans, stressing that it was too early to draw conclusions from the results of the Bahrain test. According to him, the unique conditions of the secure track and other external factors could affect the test results, so they do not necessarily reflect the true performance of their car. He added that the team had gathered a lot of valuable data from the test sessions, which will be used to improve the car's performance before the first race of the season. However, the challenges facing Ferrari and Red Bull cannot be underestimated. With the competition getting fiercer and other teams continuing to develop, both teams will need to find solutions quickly to be competitive from the start of the season. All eyes are now on the season opener in Bahrain, where the world will see if Ferrari and Red Bull can recover from their difficult start or face a more challenging season than they anticipated. Ferrari's SF-25 concept has raised a lot of eyebrows among F1 pundits and fans. The Maranello-based team has kept only about 1% of its predecessor's design, a decision that shows how radical their approach is for this season. With such a big change, Ferrari seems to want to break out of the shadow of previous failures and try something completely new. However, this strategy also carries a big risk, especially considering that the 2025 season will be the last before the new regulations are introduced. If this concept doesn't work, Ferrari won't have much opportunity to make drastic changes to catch up. One of the most striking elements of the SF-25 is its stronger and more aggressive front-end design. While this change is not entirely due to the use of a new pull-rod suspension, it does have a significant impact on the weight distribution of the car. More weight is shifted forward, which should be an advantage on tracks that rely more on front-end cornering. However, on tracks like Bahrain, where the aerodynamic requirements are different and the car relies more on overall stability, this change could prove to be a challenge for Ferrari. In addition, Ferrari has decided to use a wing with a medium to low level of downforce. This approach is similar to that of McLaren, but lighter than that of Red Bull and Mercedes. This configuration has the advantage of straight-line speed, but also opens up a gap in the stability aspect of the car, especially when going through high-speed corners or when experiencing aerodynamic disturbances due to turbulence from other cars. As a result, one of the biggest challenges for the SF-25 is the stability of the car under braking and the balance between the front and rear, which are crucial factors for the handling of the car on different types of circuits. Ferrari will be aware that this major change could be a double-edged sword. If successful, the SF-25 could be a game-changer for them in the title race. However, if the concept proves to be fundamentally flawed, they may find it difficult to adapt in such a short period of time. With competition getting fiercer and technological developments continuing to advance, Ferrari must quickly find a solution to ensure the SF-25 can compete at the highest level. Preseason testing and the first few races will show whether their bold decision will pay off or put them in a difficult position. Lewis Hamilton, who is testing a Ferrari for the first time since leaving Mercedes, is optimistic about the performance of the SF-25. Although tire degradation on the third day hampered his race simulation, he still feels the car has great potential to compete this season. In recent years, I have not been able to judge the car too quickly in the early tests. But this is the most positive feeling I have had in a long time. I like to jump right in and find out how to get the best out of the car. I think we have laid a good foundation, but there is still a lot of work to do, said Hamilton. The Briton also stressed that adapting to a new car is always a challenge, but he has enjoyed the process so far. According to him, Ferrari has made great progress compared to last year, and he hopes that the team can continue to improve its performance before the first race in Australia. However, he also reminded that the competition will be very tough this season, especially with other teams that have also shown significant developments during testing. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, was more cautious in his assessment. The Monaco driver felt that although there were positive aspects, there were still many things that needed to be improved, especially the balance of the car. We saw numbers that were in line with expectations, but on Thursday afternoon and Friday we had difficulties maintaining balance. There is a lot of work to be done. The weather in Bahrain was also quite strange this time, with cold temperatures and rare rain. It is difficult to compare with previous year's tests, said Leclerc. He added that although the team had gathered a lot of valuable data during the test, there were still some question marks that needed to be answered before the official race. According to him, the unusual track conditions and temperatures make analysis more difficult, and the true performance of the SF-25 will only be seen at the first race in Australia. Leclerc also stressed that the development of the car will not stop here. The Ferrari team has a number of updates planned that will significantly improve the performance of the SF-25 before the season begins. With the competition getting tougher, every little detail will have a big impact on the final result in each race. Both Hamilton and Leclerc agree that it is too early to draw any definitive conclusions about how competitive Ferrari will be this season. However, expectations within the team remain high and fans are eager to see how the Ferrari duo will perform when the season begins. With all these factors, Ferrari must immediately understand the core of the problem they are facing. The SF-25 does show potential, but so far it has not been seen as a big leap as previously expected. Before the preseason test, there was optimism that Ferrari could be on a par with McLaren and maybe even challenge Red Bull. However, the results seen in Bahrain showed that they are still behind in some important aspects, especially in terms of race pace and tire degradation. There are also external factors to consider, such as the unusual weather conditions in Bahrain. Charles Leclerc emphasized that the cold temperatures and rain that occurred during the test could affect the car's performance, so the results seen may not reflect the true strength of the SF-25. In addition, Ferrari is also known as a team that often hides its true speed during pre-season testing to avoid excessive expectations from its competitors. With Ferrari's huge investment in this new design, their competition with McLaren, Mercedes, and even Aston Martin will be one of the most interesting stories of the season. Mercedes looks to be a serious threat, especially with the maturing of George Russell and the great potential of Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who is predicted to move up to F1 soon and challenge the dominance of the top two teams. The question now is whether Ferrari has hidden its true potential in the Bahrain test? Or are they still lagging behind their main rivals? With the 2025 season just around the corner, Ferrari will need to find a solution immediately if they want to be at the front of the pack and challenge for the world title. What do you think? Can Ferrari step up and become a serious threat this season? Let us know your opinion in the comments section.